Every quarter, there's like newer, better, different.
You're not paying attention to what's being built. You're just getting behind.
We don't hire people that don't know how to use the basic AI tools. Crappy emails are no longer acceptable.
And at some point, your axe is going to get dull.
OpenAI made an announcement at that conference, and it literally shut down half the people in the room.
You're doing yourself a disservice as a leader. It's stupid for me not to, kind of deal.
Hey everyone, welcome to What the FTE, the podcast where we cut through the noise and talk about what's really happening in HR, hiring, and the future of work. Now, everyone's chasing that next shiny HR toy, whether it be AI hiring, culture dashboards, tools that claim to know your people's bowel schedules better than you do. Just kidding. But how do actual people leaders cut through the noise? Because there is a lot. That's why I have Martin Hauck here, who's seen both sides. He's built some of the top global talent acquisition teams, launched one of the most engaged HR communities in the world, the People Group, and now co-leads Purple Umbrella, a fractional people ops consultancy doing things a little bit differently. Not only that, we resonate well together because he is also a geeky dad, an espresso junkie, and one of the few still genuinely excited about HR tech when it works, when it helps, when it's not just another overhyped demo with a vibe. We've all been there. Martin, welcome to the show.
Amazing. No, thanks for having me on, Andy. This is an awesome intro. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I've had the good privilege of knowing you through a few different versions now. It's probably been like 7 or 8 years since the CoinSquare introduction.
Yeah. That's a while back. Yeah, we've both got kids now. Companies are both like businesses. The crazy levels of change in business and on the personal side. It's been a minute. Yeah.
I remember when we used to go into the office, and now we're both doing podcasts from home.
Yeah, that wasn't on my bingo card.
No, I think you had at the time you had the nicest office I think I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah. No, it was the CoinSquare office was pretty nice. Yeah, that was no Bitcoin expense was spared. I think folks have changed their tune. I think on like there's still like really nice offices, and you got to put it. If you want people to come in, you have to care about it. But I also feel like folks are also just like looking at things a bit more objectively these days as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if people aren't coming in, or the best talent's not in your city, or you don't have the tools, or the restaurants, that's the it's the challenge.
Yeah,
it's the challenge.
You have to have a reason for folks to come in, and if you don't have a good restaurant scene around your office, that's not great.
No, my challenge is like I don't cook well, and for the nice restaurants it can take too long. So I gotta figure out some sort of AI tool that just automatically Uber Eats me the thing that I'm thinking about in the morning for lunch. I show up with a nice shawarma at noon, just surprised. Uber, figure this out. Just automatically order me lunch every day.
Yeah. That is, that's a startup right there. Like, boom, right there, solved it. That's another,
I mean, I'm writing my investment check into that. If I don't have to think about any meals that I have, it's like,
yes. Oh my God.
Here are my preferences. Here are, here's what I don't want to eat. Here's maybe like my workout schedule or something. Like I want this at noon every day, and I don't want to feel bloated. I don't know.
Imagine every day your lunch was just this amazing surprise, and like, sure, you'd get the odd, like they've had these toys. Like there was this store in Vegas when I was down for Transform, and all it sold was like boxes, and you knew what the collection of toys was inside them, but you didn't know which one you were going to get. It was like a mystery box, and all they sold were $20 mystery boxes. So kudos to whoever came up with that idea. Like if that was our lunch, and even if I had like one shitty lunch every once in a while, not a big deal, because like having a surprise for a lunch and them nailing it would be incredible.
It would be incredible. And especially because it could rotate like different food genres, different you could try new things from different restaurants.
Yeah.
Um None of that like heat and eat, like there's some of those services that are like, you get this like frozen meal thing and yeah, like there's some variety there, but like I'm talking, you know, on Friday afternoon, depending on your preferences, someone shows up with like a Big Mac. And it's like,
Wow.
you know what? Like I don't eat Big Macs every day, but when I do eat a Big Mac, I feel pretty good about it. And I didn't order it. So I'd be stoked because like, oh, you knew I was feeling a Big Mac
Yeah.
today. But I don't
Yeah.
have the guilt of like ordering a Big Mac.
Yeah. All right. No. So we're launching our seed round, I guess.
I mean, I don't have a checkbook, but if I did, the check would be written. I mean, this is actually probably a great segue into maybe tools and trends that are overhyped. I mean, I want to talk to you about, cool new toys, but like, things we've also been burned by. What are you seeing in your world? Like, are there tools that you're really excited about? Is there a tool in particular that you were a little maybe underwhelmed, to put it lightly, by?
Yeah, no. Well, there's definitely tools that I'm excited by. I think what's underwhelming or not underwhelming, but the most frustrating part about keeping up to date with like HR technology and recruiting technology is that it's a gold rush right now. So it is hard to tell the difference, especially like if you layer on top of that the meta side of things is like it is now easier to make shitty websites or bad marketing look really good. So like let's say you have vaporware or just like some product that's not actually very great, but now you've got AI making it look on the outside like this product is next level. Everybody's like game or their marketing game has elevated. So the most frustrating thing is it's harder to determine what tools are good to use because like on first appearances you go to the website and their testimonials are top notch and it's a pixel perfect design and everything like that, and you buy into the dream that they're selling you, and then you go through the trial or you sign up and you try the tool and it's like still half baked, partially because of the gold rush in the sense that like it might be a good idea and they just launched 3 months ago and you just bought into it, right? That I think is the most frustrating part, is like running into to trying to like separate the top tools from like all the other stuff that's just like it feels like a go-to market right now. So like all these extra tools are coming up and you're like, oh, I want to try this, I want to try this. Like for me with my like squirrel level attention, it's just like it's a lot of time and effort to like keep an eye on all of these things.
It is absolutely wild. I mean, you can go on Lovable today and build a website and an app in like literally a couple minutes that looks world class and doesn't function. Or the other part is it's flash in the pan, right? Somebody comes out with this cool new tool and you're like, oh, I've got this new dev tool, for example, and it's like it's going to change the game, and then the next day one of your existing vendors comes out with the exact same thing on their platform, and now all of a sudden you've bought this cool new thing that your existing platform already does. And I find that really interesting and also really challenging because it used to be, oh, let's sign up for this annual subscription so I can save 20%. But it seems like every quarter there's like newer, better, different, and it's like leaving things the previous quarter behind. So interesting thing we actually did in the last couple of weeks is say for any new tools, any AI subscriptions, monthly. It's like
Month.
because you never know. You're
Yeah.
paying month to month.
Yeah.
I was using a tool called Synthesia this morning for my investor updates, which I try and trick people. Sometimes I do them live, sometimes I do them with AI, and try and see whether people pick up on whether the investor update is live or not. I write them either way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
who's actually presenting. But it's like next month there could be some new tool that is completely different. I mean, 6 months ago it didn't exist,
Yeah.
and I tried a different one that wasn't as good. But it's wild.
That's the next level tip. I think there's a lot of, I mean, anytime you go through like a financial exercise at a company, one of the biggest culprits of spend is SaaS, right? Across the organization. And I like Coinsquare Days, Caseware, StackAdapt, all these companies. At some point, we went through this exercise of like, let's take a look at all the things we're subscribed to and determine if this makes sense for us. And like when you get stuck into like a year-long thing, especially like super valuable point, like that's just a great exercise to do. Sometimes IT falls under the people ops side, or even if you're leading a team, like just go through your Visa bill or your MasterCard bill or whatever, and then like look at all the things that you've signed up for a year-long basis, and rethinking that's a good call, like a huge, because to your point, like this morning you were using the tool, by this afternoon there might be another tool that's just way better at this point, and that's not even a joke.
It's totally true. I mean, I was at well, I should say my team was at a conference that I was attending virtually, and OpenAI made an announcement at that conference, and it literally shut down half the people in the room. The functionality that they launched just wiped out everybody else, and that's never happened before. And it's going to happen consistently. I mean, the pace of change, I used to say you got to reinvent yourself every 18 months as a company.
Yeah.
It was 6. I would say that you've got to do something new and cool every quarter or less now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise someone's going to overtake you.
It's interesting too, because now all these companies have the advantage of actually being able to ship faster too. So it's like, yes, the bar has been raised in terms of quality and like usability of the products and whatnot, but they also now, like, it's not like that's the expectation, but you also didn't get the advantage of like being able to ship faster with all these tools now as well. So it's I don't know if I don't know if like the two are in parallel, like one's going faster than the other, but you're not stuck at status quo.
No, totally not. And I think it's an interesting challenge for people leaders, because in my wild view of the future, the position of the CHRO or talent acquisition is not just going to be how do you get and optimize human talent, but now you've got AI operators, and how do those operators function as humans, and how do you get that literacy in your team and your leaders? I mean, for us now, every position at certain AI proficiency. Like, you are evaluated on AI proficiency. We don't hire people that don't know how to use the basic AI tools in the same way that, you wouldn't hire someone that doesn't know how to use Microsoft Office or, Google's or G Suite. Like, the typewriter is gone.
Yeah.
It's no longer acceptable. So how do leaders in that space, one, empower people with the right tools to be successful in their roles, regardless of where they sit in an organization? What are the right tools? And then how do we get people access to be able to try things without giving everybody a credit card and having an administrative nightmare because you've got, 50 people with this, accounts of the same AI tool?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think to your vision of the future isn't like, it's not hard for me to wrap my head around, in the sense that like, no, that makes complete sense. Like, you're going to have CHROs and heads of talent who are managing AI systems as well as teams, right? Because if you go back to it, Toby at Shopify saying, okay, you're not allowed a head count if you can't say that you genuinely tried to do this with AI first. I think that's an interesting challenge. Like, people can agree, like it or not, agree or disagree. It's a worthwhile exercise to explore, just even to get your people thinking about, okay, well, how do I use it, right? And I think because of the point of like, okay, it's a gold rush right now, so like everybody's kind of coming at you with all these tools. I think the one thing that you said that I about how AI tools are like, you've got this one tool, this one company finds this like really niche problem, so okay, I'm going to come in and solve this, but then uh, an existing company that you already work with or a platform you already use launches a version of it, they're just not quite there yet. I think that's the biggest concern, because especially like, month to month on, like, then you have a tech stack of like 100 different tools. If you've got all these niche things, like maybe they're really valuable pieces of tech for whatever your operation is, right? But I think what's really important is it's more important now than ever for CHROs, and we'll just call them like senior people ops leaders, um, to like have better relationships with their existing technology providers. Because if you're not, there's a million emails out there. If you're not paying attention to like the product releases from all of your companies, because they're all releasing new like AI powered tools on a regular basis, it's hard to keep up with. So you might have, like, previously, you you bought the Ferrari, right? The thing that saves you from spreadsheets. And then even still, even before AI, you're still driving the Corolla to work for some reason, right? Like, you're still using spreadsheets to solve the problem that your entire team like agreed, okay, we're going to use this software now that helps us, but we're just going to still do things that, like, the old school way. So like there's a lot of responsibility, I think, in just like internal training. Like, okay, so we've got this piece of software, we're going to use it, and re-educating yourself on that software to say like, okay, they've got AI features now. We as a team, as a people ops team, collectively need to like double down and learn about this. And what I've found with teams more on the recruitment side, that's my background, is that there's always like on a team of like 5 to 10 people, like I had a team of 5 to 10 recruiters at one point, and there's always like 2 or 3 people that are like product junkies. Whereas like there's like a cohort of your team that's probably going to be like focused on like, I just put my heads down, I've always done it this way, and they deliver what they're expected to deliver, and they won't introduce themselves to new tools until someone else has tested it out for them. And I think that's a key point in, like, to zoom out on that later. But with those, out of your team, you really want to like not only build relationships with your vendors and your product, like the technology companies that you work with, but your own team. Somebody on your team is probably paying attention to cool tech, and you kind of know who they are. They're the one that suggests like doing things differently on a regular basis, or they're the one to be like, oh, hey, you see so and so just launched this new feature, it's pretty helpful, everybody should check it out. Gravitate to those people, and then just say like, I need you to be my eyes and ears on the ground, keeping an eye. And like, in the same way that like any hiring manager or department manager should kind of always be in hiring mode, where it's like always be meeting top talent. If you take your foot off the brakes, even if you don't have any open roles, but you run a sales team, if you're not meeting with 1 or 2 awesome salespeople on a regular basis, you're doing yourself a disservice as a leader for any department. So by that same token, I think people should be doing demos on a regular basis with new tools and just keeping up to date on them.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think there's two parts to that I want to unpack. I mean, I think a lot of people claim to be too busy to do a lot of this stuff, where an investment in the right tools at the right time with the right knowledge can free them up to have those connections, those regular interactions with
Yeah.
top talent. And I think you kind of need to do both. I think people ops leaders need to spend a chunk of their week just dedicated to seeing what's going on
Yeah.
and being really close to IT. It's going to be a really interesting relationship between HR, PNC, and IT. I mean, right now there's, how do we get computers to our team. But the future is like, how are we creating these superhumans? Like, what are the tools that we're giving them? And it's not just, the ability to do their like specific job, but it's day-to-day tools. I mean, crappy emails are no longer acceptable. It's like, there's no excuse. You got, if you're using Gmail, there's Gemini built into it. Like, you should be using OpenAI. This stuff is all here. The new bar is set. So how do you kind of bridge that cross-departmental thing? Because I think there's going to be a lot of blending between those teams if things are done right. There's going to be this new relationship.
There, to your point, I like that. I like that idea of like, you need to build a better relationship with your IT department or even your engineering department, right? So it's probably like the thing that's causing a bit of like friction between teams, because like, oh, the engineering team keeps getting these requests from all the other teams within their company to build internal tools that are AI powered, right? And like, actually, we've got a product to ship. Like, you probably need to have a team internally that is dedicated to like optimizing how the rest of the organization uses AI, or at least one individual, right? And that person, the efficiencies that person brings to the business is going to pay for itself, like time, like 4 or 5x at minimum kind of deal, right? If you look at it as an investment of like, okay, we need a human to focus on this problem. Let's rank the biggest things that slow our entire organization down and have them tackle the top 3. And that's all they do for the year. Then how much room have you built out for the rest of the organization to focus on like complex things that AI you just don't have the ability to like empower with AI yet?
You're totally speaking my language. We're actually looking at a hire to do just that
No way.
internally.
Nice.
We found some people internally that are using tools to solve problems. It's like, I can get my engineering department to do this, but like the thing that I need to do is really repetitive, and there's probably a tool out there. So we sent a bunch of folks to the Human X conference, and people came back and were like, I can remove that from my roadmap because for $10 a month, we can never do this thing again. And you don't need to know how to code to do it.
No.
And it's amazing how out of the woodwork you start finding all of these manual time wasters that people are doing that could be completely automated without a ton of work.
Yeah.
That's the reality, is that these are a solved problem. And sometimes it's a solved problem for a different industry, and you can apply it to your industry. And if you just have someone out there that knows what the challenges are internally, they're going to stumble across the thing that solves the problem without having to involve a team of engineers and product managers and designers.
One of my favorite quotes is, I think it's Lincoln. He's like, give me 6 hours to chop a tree down and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's like,
brilliant.
If all you do every week, right? Every week, like measure your productivity in like in sprints, obviously, like weeks. If every week all you're doing is chopping trees down, at some point your axe is going to get dull. And now there are better axes being manufactured. So if you don't take a look at the market and say, like, who's making better axes, or maybe there's a chainsaw out there now, or maybe there's a machine, like if you're not paying attention to what's being built, you're just getting behind. So like, if you're kind of going back to that point of like, you need to bake in a reasonable amount of time every week, probably just staying up to date. Maybe not every week, but like once a month, you just say, okay, every second Friday, all I'm doing is reviewing all the things that my team does or that I do, and I'm trying to find better ways. It's like a project. You spend time making it so that the shitty parts of your job are now being handled by AI, or the frustrating, time-consuming parts of your job are being handled by AI. And you get the fun part, I think, from my perspective, is you get to like build your own solution. So you're not really dealing with like You get to like bake in your own op like bake in your own flavor to like, okay, this project or this task is very specific and unique to this one particular thing. Well, you get to build it. That's like, I don't know what's more fun, to be honest with you.
I completely agree. It's interesting to hear some of the pushback on this too, which is, what am I going to do? What does my job look like? And I think there's a cohort of people that haven't realized that the way we work has fundamentally changed and will continue to fundamentally change, to the point where like you clicking the button is not the most valuable thing you can do. Like, you've got to
Yeah.
think 10x. What are those things that make you 10x? It's not it's not my thoughtful email. It's now the strategic thinking. It's the solutions. It's the, everyone's got to become subject matter experts so that they can handle the hard problems. And, I'm totally with you. The hard and exciting problems,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the easy stuff. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know what you mean in terms of like, it's hard. I think it's harder because it's happening so fast. But like, think of the company that got the fax machine, like, and their first fax machine in the office. And then imagine being the person in the office, like, no, I'm going to print out all these pieces of paper specifically for individual homes, and I'm going to sell out our sales literature. And you're not using the fax machine, or you're not taking advantage of it. At some point, you have to kind of like be like, okay, no, I'm using the fax machine. It's stupid for me not to, kind of deal.
I completely agree. I mean, on the topic of fax machines, uh, what do you think is the best investment in people using technology you've seen a company make recently?
Well, this kind of bleeds into a different kind of point. Is like, we've been talking a lot about AI, which, for good reasons, for very important reasons. One thing I think we skipped over is automation. And like, AI is here now and everybody's excited about it, but automation, like quality integrations and APIs and like simple, easy to use, like I'm talking about Zapier or Make, stuff like that has been available to people ops folks for a while now. And we're still driving the Corolla. Like, we've got affordable Ferraris around everywhere. Like, maybe they're not the Ferrari anymore. Maybe they're like the Audi or the Acura. I'm just messing around with car brands here, but like, you get the point. It's not so I think before folks, like, if AI is daunting for whatever reason, but you haven't even dipped your toes into automation or like just simple integrations, like, oh, well, our HRIS can integrate with Slack and it can send automatic messages. That's like the most basic form of like automating something. And if you're not exploring what that looks like, or finding ways to do your job in a more effective and efficient way, it's like, no, you used to have a spreadsheet where you would check everybody's birthdays. Now you can have like an automated thing. Maybe it's not automated to say like, hey, Andy, happy birthday. And it just looks like a bot. And you're like, oh, I don't care. This wasn't really meaningful. Maybe it's a reminder to the HR team to say like, oh, it's Andy's birthday next week. Do something nice. And boom, you don't forget. The employee experience is better. And it didn't fall through the cracks. Right. I think one of the best thing, to answer the question directly, I think the best thing companies can do is invest in training your teams on how to use automation tools and how to use AI tools. Like, that's because if they're not currently using it, that's the thing that they're either, intimidated by it, uncomfortable with it, and you just need to make time and space for it. And it's less on the dollar side and more on the time side.
I completely agree. Again, it's setting the expectation of what great looks like.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's harder now than it's ever been before to predict what great is going to look like next quarter. especially when it comes to automation, but starting at the basics, connecting your systems, making sure that they're talking to each other, skipping that process that we all know at the end outcome when you have to go back and like, oh, I forgot to, tick that little box or do that little thing. Those are the types of things people need to automate, and it's got to be the job of all leaders in an organization, all people in the organization, to know, understand, and communicate what great looks like.
Yeah. You've got new kind of roles kind of popping up previously, like recruiting ops and even people ops in itself. But like recruiting ops is a good example because you have like the hands-on recruiters that are meant to be doing the work, but then you've got the people on the recruitment team that understand recruitment intimately, but they're actually bigger fans of just improving the system. And those folks are popping up, I think, in every department, and they need to be using automation and AI to otherwise they're not really, well, what are they doing? Then they're doing the job themselves, right? So
Let my recruiters recruit, let them do the things that they're good at,
yeah.
and stop pushing paperwork their way. I mean, you want to you want to see a good recruiter go bad, overwhelm them with paperwork and unnecessary process. Well, Martin, I think we've got time for one last question here.
Sure.
This one's out of left field. Have you had any, maybe demos or use cases, something that you've tried recently or seen recently that was a total fail? You don't have to name the company, just like, what was the use case?
Yeah.
And how did it fail?
Well, it actually touches on your point. I forget the name of the company, but I'm a huge Superhuman fan. Like I use Superhuman's email. I've been using them for 5 years. And then this product, I kept seeing like posts about this product, and it's like, oh, this is a Superhuman competitor. Da 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 da. It does this, and this, and it actually gets you to inbox zero. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I checked it out, and it was more expensive. Like Superhuman's like $40 USD a month or something like that. They were like 90 or 120 or something like that. And like me as a Superhuman fan, like hardcore fan, I think, like it felt like I was cheating on software. Like I felt dirty for me to even do the demo. I felt like it was just like, but the appeal of what they were talking about was so strong. Like emails, like I've got 5 or 6 inboxes that are all pretty hefty. It's a lot. So, I did the demo, and at a very early stage, but one of the, like a week later, Superhuman launched like the main features that were like most appealing to me. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I get it for $40 a month. This is like, it was just like kind of going back to that instance of like, yeah. So it wasn't, I feel bad. It wasn't a fail, but I feel bad because like, if you've got an idea and you see a gap in the market, even with some of the best players in that market, there's a chance that they could just turn around and launch that feature. And I think it was auto drafts. So for me, like what was nice about Superhuman is you can set a reminder, the snooze feature, right? Like, oh, if somebody doesn't reply to this email, it'll pop back in my inbox in like 3 or 4 days. Well, now Superhuman does an auto draft where it's basically, if you haven't gotten a reply, instead of just that email popping up, you've got the reply to that person, be like, hey, just following up, are you interested in this or not? And it takes all the context from the previous email that you sent, so it looks like you wrote it, and it's just a good reminder. So you just click send, as opposed to like, okay, I'm gonna mention something and overthink it, right? All you really need to know is like if they're interested or not, kind of deal. So that felt bad because like, I'm a fan of entrepreneurs. Like I want to support small upcoming startups and tech companies. And yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, I think he just squashed their business, right?
It's happening. It's happening. I gotta go get Superhuman. The auto draft function on Gmail with Gemini leaves a lot to be desired. If I let that thing answer my emails, it would be I would have a lot of frustrated people. I'd probably be divorced too.
Yeah.
It's so curt. I don't know why. Like my tone is definitely not like that. I hope. Because ChatGPT, it nails my emails. I mean, everything goes through Zapier and ChatGPT. That's been my jam. But yeah, the Gemini one, I feel like
No,
it's
check it. I'll send you a link. There's one member in our community who I got onto the superhuman train, and then he just recently was like, I've tried something new. Very similarly, he's like, it felt dirty to I felt wrong to to check something else out. But that's the reality too, is like when you have a good product, you've got these super fans, and then now there's actually ways of competing with these category leaders. So I think it just makes it, the market right now just makes it means that companies that are category leaders are going to have to just use all the same tools that are available to everybody else to stay on top of things. But yeah, happy to send you I got a referral link. I'll get like a month free of Superhuman. You'll save me $40 or something. I'll flip it your way. The demos they do are great. No, it's like their onboarding is insane. Like I've never seen anything like it.
I'm going to check it out. Send me that link.
Will do.
And with that, Martin, it was so awesome having you. I love talking tech, truth, and the tools that are actually worth your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you're into this kind of thing, hit the show notes. We drop a full debrief after every convo. You can see the links, the extras, the good stuff we couldn't squeeze in. But thank you for listening to What the FTE. Smash the subscribe button, tell a friend, and we will see you next time.